The paparazzi were screaming my name, cameras flashing in my face like strobe lights designed to trigger seizures. My publicist was trying to clear a path, but there were too many of them, pressing in from all sides. I felt hands grabbing at my jacket, my hair. Someone yanked my purse strap so hard I stumbled. Then suddenly, there was a wall between me and the chaos. Not a wall, a woman. 6 feet of controlled power in a black suit, her hand on my lower back, steady and sure as she carved a path through the mob like they were nothing. "Stay close to me," she said, her voice low and calm despite the pandemonium. And for the first time in my 23 years of living in the spotlight, I felt completely safe. That was the moment I met Detective Alexis Kane, my new bodyguard. And that was the beginning of everything changing. Before we dive into how my life became completely complicated in the best possible way, drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. And please subscribe to help the channel grow. This story is long, messy, and absolutely worth it. My name is Vivienne Laurent, though most people know me as Vivi Laurent, pop star, actress, tabloid fixture, and professional disaster. At 23, I'd already had 3 #1 albums, starred in 2 blockbuster movies, and been through enough scandals to fill a documentary series. My face was on billboards, my songs played in every store, and I couldn't leave my house without ending up on the cover of some magazine with a headline about my latest relationship drama or wardrobe malfunction. The truth was, I was exhausted. Exhausted from performing, from pretending, from being whoever people needed me to be. My management team controlled everything: what I wore, what I said in interviews, who I was photographed with. They'd even arranged my last 3 relationships for publicity. By the time I turned 23, I didn't know who I actually was anymore underneath all the performance. The incident that led to me getting a bodyguard happened at a movie premiere. A fan had gotten past security and grabbed me, screaming about how we were meant to be together. Security pulled him off, but not before he'd torn my dress and left bruises on my arms. The photos were everywhere within hours. My management decided I needed professional protection, someone who could handle threats before they became incidents. That's how I ended up sitting in a conference room with 3 potential bodyguards, all of them former military or law enforcement, all of them looking at me like I was a fragile piece of expensive art they had to protect. Then Alexis Kane walked in and everything else just became background noise. She was 31, former detective with the LAPD, 6 years of experience in executive protection. She had dark hair pulled back in a severe bun, sharp green eyes that seemed to catalog every detail of the room in seconds, and this presence that was both intimidating and strangely comforting. She wore a perfectly tailored black suit, minimal jewelry, no visible weapons, though I knew she had to be armed. When she shook my hand, her grip was firm but careful, and she looked me directly in the eyes like she was seeing me, not the celebrity version of me. "Miss Laurent," she said, "I've reviewed your security needs. If you hire me, my job is to keep you safe, not to be your friend or your assistant or your therapist. I'll be with you 24/7 when you're in public, and within immediate response distance when you're at home. I'll need full access to your schedule, your locations, and decision-making authority when it comes to security protocols. Are you comfortable with that level of intrusion?" Most people who worked for me spent their time telling me what I wanted to hear. Alexis was telling me exactly what she expected, no sugarcoating. I liked her immediately. "When can you start?" I asked. "Tomorrow morning, 0600. My manager looked concerned. "That seems very intense. Maybe we should—" "I'll take her," I said, still looking at Alexis. "Tomorrow morning works." Something that might have been approval flickered in Alexis's eyes. "I'll see you then, Miss Laurent." "Vivi," I said. "Please call me Vivi." "I'll see you tomorrow, Miss Laurent," she repeated, and I realized she wasn't going to call me by my first name. Professional boundaries, clearly established. For some reason that made me want to cross them. Alexis started the next morning exactly at 6 a.m., arriving at my house in West Hollywood with a complete security assessment and a list of changes that needed to be made. She walked through every room, checked every window and door, evaluated sight lines and escape routes, all while I followed her around in my pajamas drinking coffee and trying not to stare. Your back gate has a broken lock, she said, making notes on her tablet. Your security cameras have blind spots here, here, and here. Your alarm system is decent but not great. And you leave your bedroom curtains open at night, which means anyone with a long-range camera can photograph you sleeping. I felt weirdly exposed. I like the natural light in the morning. I like you not ending up on a stalker's wall, she countered. Blackout curtains, closed at night, open in the morning after I've done a perimeter check. You're very bossy. You're very vulnerable. That's why you hired me. She turned to face me fully. Miss Laurent, I need you to understand something. My job is to keep you safe, and I take that job very seriously. That means you need to trust my judgment even when my decisions are inconvenient or uncomfortable. Can you do that? I should have been annoyed. People didn't talk to me like that, like I was a regular person who needed to follow rules. Instead, I found it kind of thrilling. Yes, I said. I can do that. Good. Now let's talk about your schedule for the week. The first few days with Alexis were an adjustment. She was everywhere, standing by the door during interviews, sitting in the corner during recording sessions, walking 3 steps behind me in public with her hand always hovering near her concealed weapon. She was professional, efficient, and completely unimpressed by my celebrity status, which was honestly refreshing. She didn't ask for selfies or autographs. She didn't treat me like I was special or fragile. She treated me like I was her job, and there was something grounding about that. When fans approached me on the street, Alexis would step in smoothly, creating space, assessing threats, always keeping herself between me and potential danger. When paparazzi got aggressive, she handled them with this calm authority that made grown men back off without her even raising her voice. How do you do that? I asked one night after she'd dispersed a crowd of photographers just by standing there and looking at them. Do what? Make people listen to you without yelling or threatening them. She glanced at me in the rearview mirror. We were in the car heading back to my house after a dinner meeting. Confidence and clarity. If you know exactly what you want and you're confident in your authority, most people will comply. The ones who don't comply reveal themselves quickly, and then you know who the real threats are. You're really good at your job. I know. There was no arrogance in it, just fact. I smiled. Do you ever take a break from being impressive and competent? Do you ever take a break from being charming and exhausting? She shot back, and I caught the tiniest hint of a smile in her eyes in the mirror. That was the first time she'd shown any personality beyond professional bodyguard, and I felt absurdly pleased about it. 2 weeks into working together, something shifted. We were at a charity gala, one of those events where celebrities stood around drinking expensive wine and pretending to care about whatever cause was being promoted. I hated these events. They were performances on top of performances, everyone watching everyone else, judging, comparing, waiting for someone to slip up. I was standing by the bar in a designer dress that cost more than most people's monthly rent, smiling at people I didn't know, when I felt a panic attack coming on. My chest got tight, my vision started to tunnel, and I couldn't catch my breath. This happened sometimes when the pressure got too intense, but I'd always managed to hide it before. Not this time. My hands started shaking, and I must have looked unstable because suddenly Alexis was there. Her hand on my elbow, steady and grounding. Ms. Laurent, we need to check on a security concern, she said loudly enough for nearby people to hear. Then quieter, just for me. Come with me. I've got you. She guided me out of the ballroom and into a back hallway, away from the crowd and the cameras and the expectations. She found an empty room, some kind of coat check area, and locked the door behind us. Then she just stood there, calm and present, while I tried to breathe through the panic. I'm sorry, I gasped. I'm sorry. I just need a minute. You don't need to apologize, she said. Her voice was so steady, so sure. You're having a panic attack. It's going to pass. Just breathe with me, okay? In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. She breathed with me, counting softly, and I focused on her voice. Her presence, the solid reality of her standing there like nothing could touch me while she was on watch. Gradually, my breathing slowed, my vision cleared, the panic receded. Thank you, I said when I could finally speak normally. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Keeping you safe includes keeping you safe from yourself sometimes. She studied my face. How often does this happen? More lately. The pressure is just, everything is always so much, and I can't ever really rest because there's always another thing, another performance, another appearance. I feel like I'm drowning, and everyone's just watching and taking pictures. Alexis was quiet for a moment. Then she said, when was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? Not for publicity or your career or anyone else's expectations. Just for yourself. I couldn't remember. That was the most depressing part. I genuinely couldn't remember the last time I'd done something purely for my own enjoyment. That's what I thought, Alexis said softly. Miss Laurent, I can protect you from external threats, but you need to protect yourself from your own life sometimes. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to be human. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something in her expression that wasn't just professional concern. It was empathy, maybe even worry. Like she cared about me as a person, not just as a client. Will you call me Vivi? I asked. Please? At least when we're alone? She hesitated, and I watched her weigh professional boundaries against whatever she was feeling. Finally, she said, okay, when we're alone. But in public, we maintain the professional distance. Deal. We stayed in that coat check room for 20 minutes, just sitting on the floor talking about nothing important, her favorite coffee shop, my obsession with true crime podcasts, the terrible reality TV we both secretly watched. It was the most normal conversation I'd had in months, and when we finally went back to the gala, I felt more grounded than I had in weeks. After that night, things were different between us. We were still professional in public. She still called me Miss Laurent, still maintained her bodyguard stance, still did her job with perfect competence. But in private, in the car or at my house or in quiet moments, we talked, really talked. I learned that Alexis had left the LAPD after a case went wrong and her partner was killed. She'd spent 2 years in therapy processing the trauma and guilt before transitioning to private security. She lived alone in a small apartment in Silver Lake, had a cat named Detective, ironically, and went to the shooting range every Sunday to maintain her skills. She read mystery novels, drank her coffee black, and had a dry sense of humor that caught me off guard and made me laugh in ways I hadn't laughed in years. She learned that I'd started performing when I was 7, pushed into it by my mother who saw me as a meal ticket. That I'd never had a real childhood, never gone to prom or learned to drive or done any of the normal things teenagers did. That my relationships were mostly fake, arranged by my management for publicity. That I didn't know who I was when I wasn't performing, and that terrified me. You're more than what you do, Alexis said one night. We were at my house late after a long day of recording. She was doing her final security check before going to her apartment. You're intelligent, funny, thoughtful. You care about people. You have opinions and interests beyond your career. That's who you are. You see me like that? I see you exactly like that. She looked at me with those steady green eyes. You're a person, Vivi, not just a celebrity, not just a performance. A real, complex, interesting person. No one had ever said anything like that to me before. I felt something shift in my chest. Something warm and terrifying and completely inevitable. I was falling for my bodyguard. The realization hit me one random Tuesday afternoon. We were at a photo shoot for a magazine cover, and I was exhausted from holding poses and fake smiling for hours. During a break, Alexis brought me water and stood between me and the photographer's assistant, who kept trying to adjust my clothing in ways that made me uncomfortable. She's fine, Alexis said firmly. Give her some space. The assistant backed off, and I just looked at Alexis standing there protecting me from handsy staff and invasive photographers and all the little violations that came with my job and thought, oh no. I'm in love with her. It wasn't the dramatic, sweep-you-off-your-feet movie love I'd performed in music videos. It was quieter than that, deeper. It was the feeling of safety when she was near. The way I looked forward to our conversations more than anything else in my day. How I noticed little things about her. The way she took her coffee. How she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating. The rare full smile that transformed her entire face. I was completely, thoroughly, hopelessly in love with my bodyguard, and I had no idea what to do about it. The worst part was pretending nothing had changed. Still going through my days with Alexis 3 steps behind me. Still maintaining professional distance in public. Still acting like she was just my employee when she'd become the most important person in my life. I started testing boundaries in small ways, standing a little closer to her than necessary. Letting my hand brush hers when she passed me something. Asking her to stay later at my house, finding excuses to extend our time together. She never pulled away, but she never moved closer either. She maintained her professional distance, even as I tried to cross it. 3 months into her working for me, my management announced I was being set up on a publicity date with a male actor for an upcoming movie we were both promoting. It was standard procedure, fake relationship, staged paparazzi photos, social media posts, the whole performance. I'd done it a dozen times before. But this time, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to pretend to be interested in someone else when the person I actually wanted was standing right there, protecting me, keeping me safe, seeing me for who I really was. I don't want to do this anymore. I told my manager on the phone. Vivi, it's in your contract. You have to, I don't have to do anything. I'm done with fake relationships. I'm done pretending. I hung up and found Alexis in the kitchen, reviewing security protocols for my upcoming tour. She looked up when I walked in. Everything okay? No, I said. Nothing is okay. I'm tired of lying and performing and being whoever everyone else needs me to be. I'm tired of pretending I don't feel things I actually feel. I'm just tired, Alexis. She set down her tablet, giving me her full attention. What do you actually feel? This was it. The moment where I could either keep pretending or tell the truth and deal with whatever consequences came. I took a breath and chose truth. I feel safe with you. I feel seen by you. I look forward to seeing you every single day, and when you're not around, everything feels less stable. I think about you constantly. I notice everything about you. And I know this is completely inappropriate and probably ruins everything, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way. I'm falling in love with you, Alexis. Maybe I've already fallen. And I needed to tell you even if it means you quit and I never see you again. The silence that followed felt eternal. Alexis just looked at me with an expression I couldn't read, and I braced myself for rejection. For professionalism, for her to remind me she was just my employee and this was completely out of line. Instead, she said quietly, "You have no idea how hard it's been to maintain professional distance with you." My heart stopped. What? Vivi, I've been fighting this since week 2. You're brilliant and funny and real in ways I didn't expect. You're not who I thought you'd be when I took this job. You're so much more than the celebrity persona. She ran her hand through her hair, visibly struggling with something. But I'm your bodyguard. I'm responsible for keeping you safe. Getting involved with you would compromise my ability to do my job effectively. It would blur lines that need to stay clear. What if I don't care about the lines? I care about the lines. I care about doing my job right. I care about keeping you safe. She looked at me with such intensity. I care about you too much to put you at risk. So, what do we do? I don't know, she admitted. But I know I can't keep working for you feeling like this. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to me. I should resign. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. Please don't leave. I need you, Alexis. Not just as a bodyguard, but I need you in my life. Then we need boundaries. Real ones, enforced ones. Professional relationship only, no more crossing lines, no more personal conversations late at night. I do my job, you do yours, and we both pretend this conversation never happened. It hurt, but I understood. Okay, if that's what you need. It's what we both need, but pretending didn't work. You can't unfeel feelings just because they're inconvenient. Over the next month, the tension between us was unbearable. Every accidental touch felt electric. Every private conversation felt loaded with everything we weren't saying. Every time I caught her looking at me, I saw the same conflict I felt wanting something we'd agreed we couldn't have. Then everything changed in one terrifying moment.
We were at a late-night recording session when security alerted us that someone had gotten past the front gate at the studio.
Alexis immediately went into full protection mode, positioning herself between me and the door, hand on her weapon. "Stay behind me," she ordered. Her entire demeanor had shifted to something intense and focused. The door burst open, and a man rushed in, the same fan from the premiere incident months ago. He had a knife. Everything happened so fast. Alexis moved to intercept him. There was a struggle. I heard a gunshot, and then security was pouring into the room. When everything cleared, Alexis was on the ground, bleeding from a stab wound to her shoulder. She'd taken the knife meant for me.
The ambulance came. The police came. Everything was chaos.
But all I could focus on was Alexis, being loaded into the ambulance. Her face pale, but her eyes still alert, still tracking me even as the EMTs worked on her. "I'm coming with you," I told the EMTs. "Family only. I don't care. I'm coming." Alexis's eyes met mine. "Let her come," she said, her voice weak. I rode in the ambulance holding her uninjured hand, watching her breathe, terrified I was going to lose her. At the hospital, I paced the waiting room while they stitched her up and treated her wound. My management called, demanding to know what was happening, if we needed to make a statement. I ignored them all. Finally, a doctor came out. "She's going to be fine. The wound was superficial, missed anything vital. She need rest and physical therapy, but she make a full recovery." I nearly collapsed with relief. When I was allowed into her room, Alexis was sitting up in the hospital bed, her shoulder bandaged, looking annoyed at being injured. She saw me and some of the tension left her face. "Hey," she said. "You jumped in front of a knife for me." My voice broke.
"That's literally my job. It's not your job to love someone enough to die for them," I said. That's what that was.
"You love me." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Yes, I love you. I've been in love with you for months, Vivi, and that's exactly why I can't keep being your bodyguard. Because I'll always choose saving you over doing the smart tactical thing. And that's going to get one or both of us killed eventually." I moved closer to her bed. "So quit. Be with me as yourself, not as my employee. We'll hire someone else for security."
"I don't care about the complications or the headlines or what anyone thinks.
"I just care about you. Vivi, I love you," I said. "I'm completely in love with you.
And life is too short and too unpredictable to keep pretending we don't feel this way.
You almost died tonight. I almost lost you. I can't do this anymore, maintaining distance, following rules that don't matter. I want to be with you. Really with you." Alexis reached out with her good arm and took my hand. "If we do this, everything changes.
Your life, my life, both of our careers. The media will have a field day.
Your management will lose their minds. Let them.
I'm done living for other people's expectations." She pulled me closer until I was sitting on the edge of her hospital bed. "You're sure?"
"I've never been more sure of anything." She kissed me then, careful of her injury, and it felt like coming home.
Like everything in my chaotic, performed, carefully managed life finally made sense.
"For the record," she said when we broke apart, "I'm definitely quitting as your bodyguard. This is a massive conflict of interest." I laughed. "Fine, but you're not getting rid of me. Wouldn't dream of it." The aftermath was complicated, exactly like Alexis predicted. She resigned officially. We hired a new security team. And when photos leaked of us together, actually together, holding hands, kissing outside my house, the media lost their collective minds.
My management tried to spin it as another publicity stunt until I fired them and hired people who would actually respect my choices. The tabloids had a field day with headlines about the pop star and her former bodyguard. But I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I was living authentically, being with someone who saw me, really saw me, and loved me anyway.
Alexis understood the pressure of my career because she'd witnessed it firsthand. She knew how to navigate the publicity while still maintaining our privacy. She kept me grounded when everything felt overwhelming and celebrated with me when things went well. We've been together for 2 years now. She still has that steady, calm presence that first drew me to her.
But now I get to see all the softer parts too. The way she laughs at bad jokes. How she sings off key in the shower. Her competitive streak when we play board games. The careful way she takes care of me when I'm stressed or sick. Last month, she moved into my house officially. We're building a life together that's real, not performed, not managed. Just us figuring out how to be happy together despite the chaos of my career and the constant media attention. She was just my bodyguard, hired to keep me safe from external threats. But she ended up saving me in ways that had nothing to do with physical protection. She showed me what it felt like to be seen, to be valued for who I actually was rather than what I could provide. She taught me that I was allowed to want things for myself, to set boundaries, to live authentically even when that was terrifying. I fell in love with her slowly and then all at once in the quiet moments of protection. In her steady presence during my panic, in the way she saw through my performance to the real person underneath. She was just my bodyguard until she became everything. And now I can't imagine my life without her steady hand on my back, guiding me through the chaos, reminding me that I'm safe, that I'm seen, that I'm loved exactly as I am. Sometimes the person hired to protect you ends up being the person who saves you in ways you didn't even know you needed saving. And sometimes the most professional relationship becomes the most personal one. The one that changes everything. The one that finally feels like home.